Okay, so you're very right. Army aviation is not known to many people. Siachen is a ball game which very few can actually venture into. Mastering, nobody can. Nothing prepares you for it. No simulator, no textbook, nothing. It's just you, the machine, the stillness in the air, and your God. At 100 feet above, if you have an engine malfunction, there is just no time. The Hector is just going to fall like a stone, right? Aviation का ये है कि you seldom come out alive.
Hi and welcome to Ground 47. So today we're trying something a little different. So when we design merchandise, we work with ISRO, the Navy, the Armed Forces, and we come across a lot of great stories. And while design can do a lot of the storytelling, there are a lot of stories that just don't get told. So that's exactly what we're going to do today. And this is the A47 podcast, which we are going to call Ground Zero. So today we have with us an Indian Army veteran who is also a combat pilot, a third generation Army officer who has operated in some of the most extreme environments. He has been decorated multiple times for valor. And he's someone who has not just led in the field, but now is also mentoring young officers. And honestly, we couldn't have thought of a better way to start our new podcast. Lt Col Ajaydeep Singh, welcome to Ground Zero. So before we get into specifics, I wanted to start from the beginning. So you come from a third generation army background. So what was your childhood like, and why did you choose the army and not the Navy or the Air Force?
Childhood was only cantonments, no cities. As it is, there were fewer cities at that time, but it was only cantonments. And I think right from whenever I remember, the sense of purpose, discipline, camaraderie, that somehow got ingrained when you live that life. It's a very different world within a cantonment. And that is what actually boosted me towards wearing the olive greens. Why not the Air Force or the Navy? Because it's not that there is anything less in any way, or it's just that I felt more associated with the army. It was a sense of identity which I wanted to be associated with.
Right. So, sir, let's talk about your training and how you went about becoming a part of the army. So, a lot of people see the uniform, but they don't understand what it takes to actually don it. So, can you walk us through the selection process, the training process, and did it help you, the fact that you came from an army family, so you kind of knew what to expect?
Coming from an army family does tell you what to expect. Certainly, there is a little bit of an advantage, but that's it. It is only a little bit, 1%. That's all. Still, when you reach the academy, training hits you like a tight slap on your face. Because no parent has ever broken their child in order to rebuild them. Training does that. Right? It completely breaks you down into another person and remolds you into a state-of-the-art leader, a leader who can lead with such confidence and clarity of thought that there will never be a hesitation, and they will never be able to, do anything which brings the country's tricolor down, right? The selection process is, of course, I think it's the toughest process in the world. The SSB for now more than 6 decades has been, selecting people who have led us to victory in all our wars. It's not a joke that a selection process can produce results continuously of the same type, right? So definitely the SSB is something which is worth emulating. 5 days, no other interview process in any other army also lasts to select you with such rigorous precision.
Okay, and so for our audience, for those who don't know, what is the SSB?
The Services Selection Board The Services Selection Board actually is it's a group of people who are trained to assess you for all your leadership qualities which may be required when you join the army and become an officer. So we go by the belief that you must have those leadership qualities inbuilt in you. They can be further enhanced, or the qualities which should not be there in an officer should not come out during your selection board proceedings. So they do that check. It's a physical check, it's a psychological check, it's a mental check, and then your medicals happen after that, right? Only when you get through the SSB. 5 days they are monitoring you inside out. How do you think? How do you behave? How do you work? How do you cooperate with the others in your group? Everything is checked, and end of it, we have the best officers of the world.
Right. Okay. So physical is understandable, but you said leadership qualities. Is that possible for you to quantify what leadership qualities specifically?
All right. Leadership has a lot of sub-domains within it, right? When I have to lead troops into battle to face what may be their last minute on this planet, I need to make sure that there is never any hesitation, whether in my mind or in his mind, to carry out that deed. See, it is the ultimate form of sacrifice. Telling a man, look, this is a minefield in front of you. ये 100 मीटर आप जब पार करेंगे, उसके बाद मैं आपको मिलूंगा या आप मुझे मिलेंगे, इसकी गारंटी नहीं है, right? You are crossing that minefield. There is no full stop for a leader. At all times, you have to be setting an example in front of your men that they will follow you blindly into battle.
Okay, so continuing with the theme of your training, so can you specifically talk about your batch? And also, when it comes to training, people talk about physical toughness in the army, but what was actually harder, the physical aspect of it or the mental aspect?
Okay, so my batch. I belong to a very glorious batch, the 101 regular batch of the Indian Military Academy. We say the regular batch because there are officers who pass out from IMA Dehradun and also from the Officers Training Academy. IMA Dehradun officers are called the regular course. So the 101st regular course, it is one of the most highly awarded courses in the history of the Indian Army, starting from one Paramveer Chakra by Captain Vikram Batra and 35, I think, gallantry awards we've got as a batch, which is amongst the highest in the entire Indian Army history by a single batch. And apart from that, many other awards for dedication and valor as well. So the academy times were fun times, but mentally, obviously, it is always tougher than physically.
Okay, so sir, quickly, just some myth busting. Now, most people believe that when you join the army, you're either on combat 24/7 and you're reduced to a serial number with absolutely no personal life. So how much, especially when you watch movies, this is the picture they paint. So how much truth is there to this?
So let me bring this out very clearly. The armed forces are only 10% combat. 90% goes into preparation, administration, leadership, training for that 10% combat. Because the stakes are so high कि जब आप उस 10% वाले जोन में पहुंचे हो, you cannot falter. You are a country's last resort. The day the army fails, the country fails. So you have to at all times ensure that 10% can be 11 but cannot be 9.99. Right? So it's a myth that every time you're just in combat. No, you're not in combat. There are operational areas, there are non-operational areas. As I was telling somebody that the armed forces are the oldest HR organizations in the world. All the principles you see today are actually being followed in the armed forces for centuries.
So, sir, now let's talk about army aviation, which I'm 100% sure most of our audience didn't know was a thing. So, yes. How did you transition from being an army man to a combat helicopter pilot?
Okay, so you're very right. Army aviation is not known to many people outside the forces. In fact, most people think if you're a helicopter pilot, you have to be in the Air Force. And I understand. But there is a basic doctrinal difference between the two of them. Army aviation flies in ground support at all times, right? We are closer, we are lower, we are in the midst of combat. At any given time, the troops relate to army aviation in a way. They don't say helicopter or hepter. When they look up and or they hear कि ऊपर देखते हैं बोलते हैं heli आ गया अब ठीक है. मतलब now we are back in action, whether it is a forward replenishment or whether it is a small team induction or a search and rescue or maintenance or any other evacuation sortie or any other thing. But a helicopter means that we are back in action. To get into aviation also, it's important that once you get commissioned into the army, you first serve with a battalion or a regiment for 2 years, get to know how troops operate on ground, and then you can clear your medicals and move ahead for the aviation training.
And as an officer, you could opt to become a combat helicopter pilot? Or?
Yes, it is an optional, it's a total option. You have to select that option to, become.
Right.
It's not a natural thing. Now you do it in the academy itself. You can, while you are undergoing training, you opt for the Army Aviation Corps and you undergo the simulation test for it. Once you clear that test and if you make it in the merit, you do get commissioned, but first you go for attachment to the ground forces, other regiments.
So, for example, if a kid today or somebody listening to this podcast, if he wanted to become an army aviator, this is the route he would choose, or is there an alternative?
No, this is the route. You have to join the army like everybody else. And while you are in the army in the final term, when you're selecting your choice of arms, that is the time you choose army aviation. Your merit has to be very high. We in the army we have something called a medical category called Shape 1. It's an acronym actually. But in flying you have to be A1 G1. That means air 1 and ground 1. So you're medically both in air and ground. You have to fit the bill.
So you very briefly touched upon the roles of an army combat helicopter pilot. Can you expand on those roles? What do they do, and what does the army typically fly? What machines?
The army has been flying a few machines of French origin to start with. We had the Llamas and the Alouettes, which were called the Chetaks and the Cheetahs. They're still there in service. They're still flying. They were being made by the HAL for many years now. We've got a wonderful helicopter which is made in India called the Advanced Light Helicopter, the ALH. The weaponized version of that is the Rudra, right? Then we also have the light combat helicopter coming up called Prachand.
Yeah.
Which is again going to be a game changer very soon in our thing. We have the Apaches, which we've recently got from the US as well. So the army aviation has evolved.
So this is slightly maybe off this topic, but with the rise of RPGs and surface-to-air missiles, shoulder-mounted surface-to-air missiles, and how accurate they're becoming, and drones. Do helicopters face an imminent threat? And
at all times, you are seeing वहाँ firing हो रहा है. People are, you can see RPGs being launched, in front of you, going and you can see it in the air blasting like this because they're aiming it at you. So you do take evasive maneuvers. You are supposed to go treetop level flying. They don't get to know which tree you are coming from, this tree or this tree.
Right.
By the time they actually see you, you've already gone over them.
Okay.
That kinds. You have to, भाई तुम्हारी जान है. तुमने see. Aviation का ये है कि you seldom come out alive.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. If it doesn't go right, it's difficult to come out alive. It's seldom.
And there's no ejecting out of a helicopter.
Nothing. So you have to be at the top of the game. You cannot for even 1 microsecond think कि यार ठीक है मैं रिलैक्स करता हूँ. सवाल ही नहीं. All faculties working, everything. You're looking inside at the instruments, you're looking outside at what's happening. Situational awareness is top class. Crew resource management between the two of you, each of you know what to do, where to do. If you have an engine malfunction at 100 feet above, if you have an engine malfunction, there is just no time. The Hepta is just going to fall like a stone, right? So how will you ensure that at least you land straight? You don't land upside down, because you're falling literally. So you have to at all times be thinking of a lot of things. और mission करना है.
So, sir, like we'll obviously talk about where you were deployed in a bit, but just as a sneak peek, what is it like to fly in the Himalayas at 20,000 feet?
Nothing prepares you for it. No simulator, no textbook, nothing. It's just you, the machine, the stillness in the air, and your God. That's all. There is nothing else. Your machine is flying at the edge of the envelope. When I was flying cheetahs, they were not supposed to be flying at those altitudes. The service ceiling of the cheetahs is about 18,000 feet, and here you're flying it at 20,000 feet. It wasn't designed to fly and at that altitude, and forget about carrying a mission ahead out of that. So the aircraft is literally on the edge. You yourself are battling your mind and your body, because your body at that altitude is wanting naturally to conserve energy, to shut down. But your mind says that you have to carry out a mission. You have to move ahead. You have to go to that far post, extreme post, and be able to deliver or get a guy out or induct somebody over there. So it's a battle between your mind and your body. It is a battle with the machine at all times. And weather packs up in one turn. Suddenly you're going, and if you come back after 2 minutes, you see it's a white wall in front of you. The weather has packed up over there. So it's clouds all over, or it started snowing or something like that. So Siachen is a ball game which very few can actually venture into. Mastering, nobody can.
I see. Okay. So you touched upon a cheetah briefly. So that's a vintage piece of hardware. But are there any new helicopters that you're excited about or would want to fly that are going to be part of the Indian Army?
The Prachand. That I think has a lot of promise. It's coming out well. It's already been inducted, and by next year we should have it in much larger strength. So I think the LCH Prachand is something which is actually going to shape Army aviation ahead.
Right. And that it's a really good looking helicopter as well. I mean, that's not important, but it is cool that it looks great.
Yeah.
Right. Then, as an example, what's the worst case that has happened to you as far as an emergency is concerned?
We ran out of fuel, and we had a hard landing on the runway because we were doing, now in hindsight, something foolish but with good intent of saving our troops. So by the time we actually reached back to our base, we had not planned correctly probably, or we had not catered for adequate reserve. And as we closed in onto the runway and reached to a hover, that is the time the engine flamed out. So we just sat down there, right there. But we were lucky. Had it been 10 seconds before, maybe we would have crashed.
So just for our viewers, okay, so if you're in a fixed wing aircraft, you can eject, right?
Yes.
But in a helicopter, you have a spinning propeller,
it's called a rotor.
Rotor, sorry, on top of your head. So what do? Can you eject?
Okay, so what the reason why you can actually eject easily in an aeroplane is also because an aeroplane is aerodynamic by nature. It's meant to glide in air even without any power. So you're still gliding. You have some reaction time to be able to maneuver the aircraft, or to be able to, take the decision to eject. In a helicopter, firstly, this doesn't happen, because the minute you run out of power, it just starts dropping down, and it's only your speed at that time which you are trying to control. Now, a stone falling down, ejecting from a stone is not easy. You have to ensure that the rotors above you don't exist, because otherwise you're going to hit the rotors. So you have to first get the rotors removed and then try and get out of the helicopter. So you don't have so much of time to do all that. So it's best to get your training into it and try and maneuver whatever you can.
Okay, good. All right, that's terrifying. In that case, this is a fantastic segue to actually now talk about the places where you were deployed, which makes your case so unique because you've been deployed to the Siachen Glacier,
Yeah.
which is
It's the world's highest battlefield.
there you go, at 22,000 feet specifically. And on the polar opposite end, you have the Thar Desert. To start with, how are they different operationally? And when you were deployed at both these places, what was your role and rank at the time?
They are very, very different because as far as I've been in both these places on ground as a unit officer, a regimental officer, as well as an aviator. So I've served both in ground and in air. So when you are operating in the Thar Desert, I saw it even as a young officer when I was the gun position officer with my artillery guns. The temperatures over there were somewhere in the range of 55, 56 degrees centigrade, right? You perspire and then you stop perspiring because probably your body doesn't have that hydration inside. And there used to be times when you start itching, just a slight itch, and kind of you feel your skin is starting to peel off at that time, right? So we've seen days like that. We've also seen during Operation Vijay, when the deployments were being done in the desert sector, it wasn't easy because we were obviously not able to deploy in one place during the fog of war. There are multiple deployments which happen. You go to one place in the barren desert, you're deploying there, and maybe after 4 hours you're told, okay, move to another place. So you gather all your stores and you pick up all your ammunition and you move. And artillery ammunition is not a joke. A medium artillery round box, one round, is 95 kilos. So 100 किलो का आप डब्बा हर बार उठा के अपने गाड़ी में वापस लोड करते हो, और एक डब्बे नहीं है, बहुत होते हैं. हर गन पे 45 राउंड्स ऑथराइज्ड हैं आपके इनिशियल, जस्ट विच यू आर कैरिंग अलोंग विद यू, right? So every time you load those boxes back, then you go to a new location, get your guns deployed again, then you unload everything. Then after 6 or 7 hours you are told, okay, again move. So again you are navigating your way through the desert, kahan jana hai, new jagah, right? And you have to start digging because the enemy is watching, so you have to get under cover. So it's a non-stop kind of a environment. In that place, in that scenario, you don't have time to look for resources. So you're banking on whatever you are carrying along with you, right? So obviously you run out of water. That's the first thing that happens. And so I've seen those days also where in the Thar Desert, and when you're flying over there, again, the machine behaves very differently because you are flying at another extreme of temperature. And it's the helicopter itself becomes so hot to fly at that temperature. When it comes to the Siachen, the temperatures are on the different end of the envelope. Yeah. There you are actually fighting for survival in a very different way, right? And
my God. And as a pilot, what was your role specifically in Siachen?
So as a aviator, we have detachments over there, and we fly as detachment commanders or part of the detachments over there. We have our troops in forward areas sitting on posts. Some are on eyeball to eyeball contact with the Pakistanis over there, and some are on different feeder posts. Each of these posts, though they are being maintained in their own way, but they do require replenishments. They do require sometimes evacuations in terms of medical reasons. They also sometimes require immediate help in terms of some stores. It's a different world.
So not only do you have to face your enemy, but you're in the desert, your skin is peeling off. And in Siachen, the ground can give way,
yes,
along with keeping an eye on your enemy. Yeah. So I just want to tell our viewers, the next time you go to your office and then in the kitchen pantry you don't have the brand of tea you're looking for, just remember sir's working conditions, they are very different. So how do you physically and mentally, how do you prepare for these kind of environments?
It's your training. It's your training. You've been trained to function in adverse conditions. When the chips are down, you have been told that, look, you will not get information. There's a corporate terminology which I got to know very recently in life, a few years ago, called VUCA. Right, it's VUCA. A lot of people, if they are listening to this from the corporate, will understand and will try and relate to it. This is nothing. You have to understand that every operation or every mission you are going into, you go with practically just 50% information. There used to be times when we used to take off at first light in the valley, and it was just a casualty evacuation in X sector. The ATC used to just tell us, sir, there is a casualty at night. We used to get a call at 2, 3 in the morning, or maybe whenever the operation was going on, there's a casualty at night. First light evacuation. So first light, Hepta rotors running, we are waiting to take off, and we used to take off. We used to get to know the exact helipad location only mid-air. That okay, the casualty is being brought down to this location, they will meet you at this helipad. So, but at high altitudes, you have to plan precisely for fuel, because if you take too much of fuel, you'll never be able to land at the same, because of the height weight configuration, the payload differs. And what kind of a casualty? Is it a sitting casualty, a lying casualty? Will they have an escort along with them? Will they be able to reach a particular place? So your own calculations are based on half knowledge, right? And as I told you, that aviation is a very, very deadly kind of a way to live your life. It gives you the thrill, but it's also merciless when it comes to, there's no forgiveness there. So you have to kind of use all your experience, you have to use your skill, you have to understand the dynamics, you have to understand the weather at that very time, at that day, what is going to happen, and then be able to carry out the mission.
Okay. And speaking of unexpected situations, was there ever an unexpected situation that you had to face while you were in the Thar Desert or in Siachen?
Plenty. When I was in Leh did not have electricity as a town at that time, and we were also functioning either on generators or those solar lights. So रोज सुबह पैनल अपना बाहर रखना पड़ता था to let it charge and pray that the weather remains open so that the solar panel gets charged.
Okay.
And no mobile phones, of course. I remember in Siachen once, the chief had come for a visit to the forward area, and the visit went off very well. And during a casualty after that, he happened to ask us, is there something you feel we can do more about it? And the one request we made, this is in Siachen base camp, right? There are a lot of people there in Siachen base camp of all units and detachments, including the Air Force. The one request that was made to the chief was that, can we please have one telephone line connecting us to Leh, so that from Leh we can be patched to our respective homes via STD booth.
Right.
Right. So that is the kind of request that we could make to our chief, and sure enough, it got honored a few months later. And at least we could tell our people at home that okay, it's good. We're still here.
And what year was this that this happened?
This is 2006.
2006. So in
Yeah.
2006, there was no phone line from Siachen to Leh.
No civil phone line. No civil phone line to dial home.
So, and for how many personnel was this one phone line going to be for?
So I think we were in base camp, considering all the attachments and detachments, we must be about 400-500 people.
Right. Okay. One phone line, 400-500 people.
Yeah.
Okay. And obviously no internet, nothing. This is it. One phone line. Right. And have like our conflicts, like for example, Kargil. So has development in these areas has it accelerated after Kargil and so on?
Yes, certainly. Acceleration of local area development has taken place, and the population has always been on the army's side. That has been the best part or the greatest strength of the Indian Army. That the Indian populace has always supported the Indian Army.
If you're driving a Ford versus like a Italian machine, so in terms of Russian hardware, which is what we're used to, or French hardware or American hardware, what do you prefer?
So there is a very basic difference between Russian and the Western hardware, or I would say the Eastern and the Western hardware. When it comes to the Russian machines, whether it's a tank or a aircraft or whatever, they make the machine and then put the crew inside it.
Okay.
Right? Allow me to explain. The Western machines first take the crew and then build the machine around it.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Right? So, the crew ergonomics, the crew happiness factor, I would say, is slightly or much higher in a Western machine vis-a-vis the Eastern machine.
I see.
And earlier on, when we took the helicopters, for example, if you've imported them from France is the cold country, right?
Oh, I see.
So while I'm flying, I have a cabin heater with me, but I don't have anything to cool down. कूल डाउन के लिए जो आपका perspex में जो छोटा सा वेंट है, बस that is the only thing to cool you down.
Oh my God. Okay.
Right.
Right. So everything is simultaneously designed to kill you and save you. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So and Indian hardware, is that kind of built around the man, or the man is kind of built around the machine?
It's both actually. We've realized all these things. I mean, we've also matured. You see, we've seen now both sides, and our engineers are doing a fabulous job. Our research engineers, so they do ensure that it's a very good balance achieved between both.
So the Indian government has just, and especially with the way the world is going, the Indian government has just announced that they're shifting their focus from terrestrial to aerial. Now, you're a man who transcends both. You're part of the army and you're an aviator. So, what is your take on this?
A much needed shift. You see, today our response has also changed. The world today does not believe in just blindly rushing into a battle zone. This shift is a much needed one, because if you can see from afar, you will be able to also hunt down your target from afar, right? And we've seen a lot of low-cost options coming in terms of drones and kamikaze drones and stuff like that, which are achieving a lot of destruction of infrastructure. The present Iran conflict which is happening, and other places in Russia-Ukraine conflict also we've seen. This is something which is the need of the hour. They are cost-effective options. They extend the reach of the commander on ground. You can take a better informed decision once you have your eyes up in the sky.
But now let's really get into the meat of the matter, your operational history. Now, sir, you've been part of two very, very important operations in the history of India. Operation Vijay and Operation Parakram. So firstly, for our audience, can you tell us what both those operations were about and what was your role at that time?
So both the operations were very different. Operation Vijay in 1999 was something which was launched by the Indian government to reclaim what was ours, right? Both of them involved troop mobilization of the entire Indian Army, in fact, all three services. But Vijay concentrated on reclaiming our 67 days of intense fighting, a lot of casualties. We lost 500 plus, and the Pakis also lost much more. And it was to establish that, look, while you may have got the first round, but we do not give up. And it was a true test of junior leadership, which excelled over there. As I was mentioning some time ago, that my own batch, we were very young officers at that time, with just about 2 years of service, and a lot of my batchmates were there in action, in the midst of action, taking part and excelling for themselves and for the country. Operation Parakram was post the parliament attacks, and it was, I think, India's largest mobilization after 1971. Right. What actually struck the Pakis was the rapid rate at which India mobilized. They didn't expect such a response. Right. So there were two very different things. The responses of India, and that is how India, I think, our political leadership and our military leadership has been redefining our response at every time. Vijay had a different response because it needed that. During Operation Vijay and Parakram, during Vijay I was a gun position officer. I was leading a medium battery of 6 artillery guns and about 110 men, right? And we were deployed in the open there. During Parakram, I was a OP officer, then an observation post officer. And an observation post officer is somebody जो आगे infantry के साथ रहते हैं लड़ाई के दौरान, and they help in bringing down the artillery fire onto the enemy. So you are literally on the front line.
So it's completely ulta. You would assume people who are towards retirement are like, "Acha, mera ho gaya, I'm done." But it's actually the reverse. They are the ones who are most excited.
A warrior who has sharpened his sword his entire life would always itch for that one time for which he has trained, right?
That is beautifully put, sir. That is a lovely line. Has there ever been an instance where the official accounts of events have differed from what actually happened, and is there an instance like that you can share with us?
I'll have to answer it carefully. See, decisions made in the fog of war are decisions which are sometimes taken in, let's say, 30 seconds. But they will be analyzed for the next 30 years because they will get documented in that way.
Right.
Now, a very important part of leadership is to be able to take a decision, keeping all the dynamism which is happening over there, and to then stick on with it. Selection and maintenance of aim, as we call it, one of the principles, or rather the first principle of war. So once you have selected your aim, you have to maintain it, right? The maintenance of momentum has to be there. Now, there could be decisions, obviously, which at that time were not exactly what were required to be taken. But I'm sure the intent, the foundation on which the decision was taken was absolutely perfect. I mean, there was never a doubt as to why this decision has to be taken. 9 out of 10 times, it works out.
Okay.
There may be an odd case it didn't work out.
So, were you surprised that the Pakistani military was part of Kargil, or was that expected almost? Or
the initial part was surprising when the patrols which went missing, and we got to know that there's more to the people sitting on top. The initial part did take us by surprise, I think, and that is where we took a little bit of time to react. But once it was clear, I think we left no stone unturned, and the whole world was watching 100%. About how the Indian forces reacted and the political leadership. And we came out literally with guns blazing.
Sir, now you've seen both sides. You were in training yourself, and now you're mentoring young officers at the Officer Training Academy in Chennai. So, firstly, how does it feel to be the trainer instead of the trainee?
In the academy, an instructor is like a god, right? Because the entire world can go topsy-turvy if your god is not happy that day, right? But to put it in a more serious way, when you are being trained, your world shrinks, right? You are actually looking inwards. You are looking at your performance, head down, train, endure, get to the finish line, wherever your finish line is, maybe 6 months or 1 year or 1.5 years or whatever. When you're training, your world expands, because here you have a person or a number of people, and you're trying to make them the best that can be. An officer is not just a soldier. An officer is much more. You have to know everything possible under the sun to become an officer.
And in like if there were three things that you learned by yourself in your experience with the armed forces that you would like to pass on to these new cadets or new recruits or our audience who wants to join.
Yeah. One, I think I touched upon this earlier. First thing, own your decisions, not your successes. Own your decisions. Accountability creates a far-reaching impression in your team, right? So once you've established your decision, there is no doubt that they will follow you to the end of earth, right? Two is learn to be comfortable by being wrong. There is something called a zero error syndrome, which a lot of people fall prey to, right? It's okay to be wrong sometimes. It's absolutely okay. Even a machine which is made in such a way does falter after some time, right? So as a human being, we have a lot of things which could lead us to being wrong, and it's okay to be wrong. And lastly, I feel today's generation especially, we need to learn to rest. Take a step back, pause, just make sure that you are there in the moment, right? Everybody's busy zipping. Where and why, probably half of them don't know, but they are zipping. So I think it's okay to take a moment to rest.
Sir, again, pertaining to this question, okay, as the physical distance between combatants reduces, do you think acts of bravery and valor or medals awarded for the same, like a PVC, do you think these will also they'll get awarded lesser and lesser over time?
So you must understand that medals or awards, while they are already very few being awarded, but the acts deserving such medals or awards are much, much more. A lot of them go unnoticed or unpublished, right? And during war, you don't start, writing a citation for yourself. In the heat of the moment, you're busy fighting. So a lot of times they actually go unawarded, and I think the pattern will not really go down, or the number of awards will not go down, for the simple reason that while we may be able to destroy the enemy infrastructure or the enemy targets from afar, at the end of the day, if you're really going to occupy territory, you need boots on ground, right? The soldier still has to reach there and firmly plant the flag. So bravery and accounts of bravery shall always be there.
So now, sir, as a civilian, you are a corporate keynote speaker and a leadership strategist. And while we were researching on you, one of the topics you cover during your keynote speeches and your leadership talks is DEI, which for our viewers is diversity and equity and inclusiveness. So we were wondering, what does DEI, which is now more relevant than ever, what does it have to do with an army background?
All right. A helicopter crew is an independent crew, and one of the most interdependent team that can exist. The pilot and the co-pilot, the two of you flying into a mission, flying a machine, weather, mission requirements, everything. At that time, if I try and impose myself as the senior voice, it's not going to work. A 25-year-old can challenge me if I'm missing something. It's perfectly fine.
Right.
And this is not weakness. This is not weakness in command. This is actually the highest level of interdependence which can actually come out and prove this point.
Right. So it's literally life and death. Now, as someone on the other side, okay, or something that our customers and audiences always point out and they ask us, they're like, hey, listen, if you're not in the army, how can you wear the army ka logo? If you're not in the Air Force, how can you wear the Air Force ka logo, and so on. So, as someone on the other side, when you see a civilian donning army-inspired merch or ISRO-inspired merch, what do you feel?
So, as I said before, the greatest strength of our armed forces or the army is our own people, right? When I see somebody wearing an A47 merchandise, I think I see respect towards the discipline, towards the sacrifice, towards the courage of the armed forces. It is being worn with a sense of pride and not just for flashiness, right? So A47, I think today your brand in that way is certainly proving a much needed, bridge for awareness, firstly, to educate the people and to also instill that sense of pride in our people.
And do you see a brand like A47 actually spreading awareness for the armed forces and other Indian institutions?
Today, everybody looks at celebrities, a normal cricketer or a Bollywood star or maybe a politician or somebody like that. But you are looking to make people the unsung heroes of our country, celebrities. The electric current which I get on seeing any film star, tomorrow I'm going to feel the same vibe when I see a ISRO scientist. Why not? Right? So you are actually building a culture. Otherwise, this thing is going to get forgotten very soon.
Yep.
If we do not look after our unsung heroes, the people behind the entire show, nobody will remember them. So that is where I think you guys are doing a fabulous job.
Thank you so much, sir. I think my entire creative team and even the team behind the camera right now, I can see all of them are beaming. They're super happy. Thank you so much.
Fine.
And the last question before we finish this podcast. If you could fly one last mission, what would it be and why?
One last mission, Siachen.
Siachen?
Undoubtedly. रूह बसी है मेरी वहाँ पे. I would love to go back because that is the ultimate test of both man and machine. It can't get better than that for an aviator to fly.
Wow. Okay, even at -50.
Irrespective.
Well, there you go. So I would like to go back to Siachen and -50. That's the kind of man we have. Let's just call this a rapid fire round. So I'll read them out. You just answer quickly in 1 or 2 words.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll try my best, yeah.
Helicopter or a fighter jet?
Helicopter any day. Helicopters build relations.
Oh, okay. Worst weather you've ever flown in?
Whiteout.
Okay. Kargil, Siachen or Northeast posting? Which tests a soldier the most?
They're very different, but between Kargil and Siachen, they're both high altitude areas. Siachen obviously tests much more.
Last thing you check before you take off and before you sleep?
Last check before I take off is crew, whether the crew is fit to fly. And before I sleep, I think my intent, whatever I did intend to do in the day, have I achieved it? Have I gotten closer to my goal for the day? And have I made a difference to somebody's life?
That's how you sleep, everyone. Don't watch reels, do that. Okay. The biggest lie civilians believe about the armed forces?
That we don't think, we just follow orders. It's so funny to hear that when people speak about that.
ठीक है. अगर हमारे Instagram followers को you have to give one line, what would you tell them right now?
आपके Instagram followers को. So, see, there is a lot of purpose behind your merchandise, right? And you are actually trying to build a very separate tribe or a community. So whoever is wearing your merchandise or following you, I think they need to understand that wear it like you mean it. Don't just wear it for the heck of it.
Strong words. So, sir, last one. Describe yourself in 3 words. None of them can be soldier.
Okay. Relentless, accountable, calm.
Amazing. And with that, thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been a treat.
And that brings us to the end of the first episode of the Ground Zero podcast by A47. If you like what you heard, do us a favor, give us a like, subscribe to the channel, and share it with as many friends as you'd like. And we hope to see you on the next one.